Thank you, chat. We are back, and I'm here with Geneva Harline. And we just had a important, tense, I think very like fulfilling round of Doki Doki Literature Club. And let's I know you all got to hear Geneva on stream, but let's talk a little more in depth. What do you think?
All of the
It is.
We have one specific emote that looks a lot like your dog.
That is true. We have one dog. We have one hype train dog emote that looks like a dead ringer.
A lot like your dog. Yeah, there's also a cat.
Yeah, the bit. Get ready for the bits on this one, chat. I know how much you love pet bits. Before we get started with this interview, of course, this is about that time where I think the marvelous and intrepid Folkwise interview sleuths. Jen, if you hear a question that you like or that makes you laugh, do not thank me and Daisy, just me and Daisy. Thank the sleuths who help put this interview and all the guest interviews together. And likewise, if you hear one that you I don't know, that makes you cringe, that was my fault and not the sleuths. I want to protect the dang sleuths. Thank you for the bits already. Thank you for the bits already.
I'm all for that, Dom.
What's that?
I said, I'm all for that.
Great.
I will totally blame you and not the sleuth.
hey, I'm cool with that. Okay. So I want to get into your new job right off the bat if I can.
Yeah, sure.
And that is to say, you mentioned it at the top of the show, but what is instructional design? But more importantly, how does your training in folklore make you valuable for that field?
So let's start this off by saying there's a lot to learn about instructional design, and I've been on the job for about 2 months.
I feel that.
So essentially, a big part of my job is helping faculty present their the online portion of their courses in the best way possible. And so it involves a lot of learning about new technologies and learning about what they want and how they want to present it, and being able to help them facilitate that. Where I personally see folklore playing a big part of this is being able to understand people, both in being able to understand the faculty and what they want to present, and the variation in how people present material, and being able to understand students and how they understand material and the variation in how they understand material. And so a lot of it is being able to understand the human elements of learning and technology, and how technology can facilitate human communication, but doesn't always take the place of. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Like I said, I am very, very new to the position, and so I have a lot to learn. But I do see a lot of overlay in the fact that we are dealing with people and people communicating and people learning and being able to understand the brain, and communication and variation is really, really a big part of that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of like accidental shorthands for like the field of the like folkloristics, and I think like the human element and variation is like accidentally a very good shorthand for what we do, and it's good that you get to apply that
right.
over at the Wharton School.
Yeah.
But let's circle back to what we were. Ow! Oh, I just hit my knee on the desk and it shook my webcam. Sorry, chat.
Oh my God.
Ow.
Don't do that.
That is the first time I think that's ever happened on stream where we did
I think it happened during gameplay
like
once in Maryland.
During gameplay.
Glad I could be there for that.
Oh
trauma.
yeah, Folkwise first.
Wait, no.
Ordinary trauma.
Jen,
right.
So even in like the job announcement, it says like, we look forward to Geneva's research interest in trauma informed pedagogy, contributing to the courseware team's instructional design practice. But I know we kind of like dropped you right into trauma informed pedagogy a little bit when you were using like some of your what I took to be like your experience with your fieldwork to comment on the game we were playing. But can you actually like lay out what trauma informed pedagogy is?
Yeah, I think so. So trauma informed pedagogy is really looking at teaching with the idea that your students have experienced some form of trauma. And sometimes this is trauma in general, and sometimes this is trauma in relation to the subject matter. Mostly with the school that I'm working with. Sorry, my dog is kind of going crazy at the moment.
Of course, during the interview.
Of course, the one part.
Of
course, when you're on camera.
He's like, wait, I don't know how to jump off the couch anymore. Just
what a dog thing.
Just to let you know, he's as tall as the couch. So trauma-informed pedagogy really is looking at teaching with the idea that a lot of students have experienced some form of trauma in their life and that it is impacting their learning experience, and looking at ways that people can teach so that it minimizes the impact of that trauma. And all what I'm really hoping to emphasize is that a lot of the techniques that are proposed for trauma-informed pedagogy are actually just basic teaching techniques. You know, like there's something called transparent assignments or transparent, really transparent assignments where you're telling people what they're learning and why they're learning it and stuff like that. And the more that I'm getting into that and the more I'm learning how to explain that, the more I'm seeing that that's something that really has already been proposed and explained. It's just giving specific language to it. And that's a big part of it. The other part of it is just really recognizing the impact that neuroscience plays on the whole learning experience and being able to explain that to faculty who are already overwhelmed with life and tenure and all of the other shit that goes on into being a faculty member.
Can I ask a sort of follow-up based on that response?
No.
Okay. On to the next. Chops busted, fellow adult. Chops busted. Is there a relationship between this concept of like transparency that you mentioned and stigma, which I know you talk about a lot?
Define your terms. What are you talking about?
Well, you're talking about transparent. What was the phrase you used? Lesson.
Assignment.
That's transparent assignments. And like, is there some sort of relationship to the concept of transparency in pedagogy and the concept of something being stigmatized? Is there like an oppositional relationship, or like maybe not necessarily like binary oppositional, but like a sort of like push and pull between those forces? Or am I thinking too hard about this?
I'm not going to say you're thinking too hard about that because it's worth considering, but I haven't considered that necessarily. Where I see transparent assignments playing a role and transparent pedagogy playing a role is more in the area of like telling students what to focus on. It's like, so this assignment is going to cover these topics, and this is the goal you're supposed to, that we're hoping that you will get from this assignment. Like in covering fairy tales, we are hoping you will understand this concept, the way that people use the concept of three or whatever.
Yeah.
And that really tells students what to focus on. And so I think that really, in a way, it really helps students understand what they are supposed to get from the assignment rather than really combating a lot of the stigma. Where I'm hoping that instructional design will combat the stigma related to mental illness and neurodivergence is that I'm hoping that we can find ways to take the burden of presenting material to students who are neurodivergent or who have mental illness off of faculty and put it on technology. Because I'm really hoping that there are ways that we can kind of mitigate some of that and make it more of a silent partner.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that I'm also interested in the idea of silence as folklore. And if we can make something just part of the built-in, like it's already considered. It's not something that we're putting as an additional burden on faculty, on people who are already like so overwhelmed with life because academia, right? Yeah. Anyway, and again, I'm really new to the position. I may be putting too much on it, but that's kind of one of my goals is to kind of see where we can take some of the burden of accommodations and accessibility off of faculty and put it into things that are already built in or ways that we can make it easier on faculty. Because I think that if we can make life easier on faculty, it'll make things easier on students. And being relatively new to technology, I do see ways that technology can kind of fill that gap. But I can also see ways that, maybe it's lacking.
I like that answer a lot.
Like the assumption of accessibility.
Yeah.
Is like just makes everyone's life easier.
Absolutely.
Really? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
That's
and
cool.
like we have this whole accommodation model of academia, but it relies on so much privilege. And I think accessibility, rather than accommodation, kind of reduces that gap.
Yeah. No, as much as I kind of had an amorphous follow up, I think you gave me a very concrete place your work is eventually looking towards. So thank you. You made us both look good there.
Anything I can do
Folkwise,
to make
is that
Folkwise
Daisy
look
talking? Daisy, you talking to me through chat?
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, said talk. That's your job.
I don't know. I didn't want to derail. It just made me think like.
It's not derailing. It's adding.
Okay. Well, it made me think about like, Dom, maybe it's not like the relationship between transparency and stigma, but transparency and secrecy.
There could be something. There could be something
Jen,
there.
I don't know what you think about that, but I'm like, what do we make silent versus what do we make accessible or something? Or like what is, or like privacy as the difference between like privacy and secrecy is the whole kind of thing, and how that feeds into.
Oh my god!
I don't know. That might be a whole can of worms that we're not ready for, I guess. But there's something about that
can of worms, but I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
So I would love to do a deep dive into the history of professions and ideas that we keep secret. And things that we don't talk about. Like the idea that I saw and this is probably a couple of years ago now, but I haven't had time to really dive into it. I saw a sign for a pawn shop that said confidentiality, not required, but something like that.
Yeah.
Like guaranteed. We guarantee confidentiality that at this pawn shop, no one will know you came here. And the idea that the things that we don't talk about, like finances, health, grades, anything that will give an indication of somebody's actual well-being are things that we don't talk about. And why don't we talk about those? Why do we always present the idea that we are okay, we are doing well, even if we're not? And if you really look at the studies coming out of like psychology and sociology and stuff like that, the idea that social well-being and social support are so essential to our emotional and physical well-being. But those are the things we don't talk about as a society, and why don't we talk about them, and what is the history behind that? So,
Daisy, what's that book you posted in chat?
Hell yeah. I was gonna say I posted this book called Secrecy Silence Religion or Science. Well, let me start over. I posted a book in chat called Secrecy Silence, Power, and Religion by Hugh Urban, who is a professor in the Comp Studies program. I think he's cross-listed in Religious Studies also at OSU. But I had to read this book for class, and it was fascinating because he talked about some of those questions relating to what constitutes a secret and how does that influence like in-group, out-group dynamics. How is it different than privacy? How is it used for power? Things like that. Which
can you send me that?
Yeah, I could totally send it to you. It's a really cool. Yeah, it's a really cool book. Not every chapter is about religion. Like some of it is about like the nature of secrets in general, but really like thematically, it's more about like power and formulating groups around like ownership of certain kinds of knowledge, basically.
That's interesting.
Which is
right.
It's a really cool book.
And that's really where a lot of the idea of silence comes into play, right? Is people who have knowledge, who have the ability to choose not to share it, are the ones who have power. People who have knowledge who are not allowed to share it for various reasons are the ones that don't have power.
Yeah.
And so navigating the folklore of silence really is a power struggle, whether you're allowed to share it and choose not to, or whether you have this knowledge but you're not allowed to share it because of choices that are made for you.
Wait, can I recommend a book now? Based on that response?
Yeah, if you send it to me in a way that I can look it up.
Yeah, well, we can go to post your resources in the Discord after too, and just post all these.
Yeah.
Daisy or Jen, have you ever had to read Portraits of the White Man by Keith Basso?
No.
Yeah, it's a short. It's like 100 pages, but there's a lot in there. It's like a performance studies book about the kind of framing anecdote starts when Keith Basso is doing field work on the, I want to say, Navajo reservation, and he hears something he's not supposed to, which is a Navajo impression of a white guy, and he goes like, "Oh, what's that voice?" And then everyone looks at the guy and goes, "Oh, Keith's not supposed to hear that," you know?
Yeah.
Anyway,
That makes sense.
more book recs for everyone. This is a very book rec heavy
right?
interview, and I like it.
So another aspect of that is if we're looking at silence and looking at when you're allowed to tell things and stuff, going back to, was it theory? Or a theory class where we talked about Barry Tolkien and the Yellowman tapes?
Yep.
Yeah, I also,
And
you're bringing this up right now, and I don't think we've talked about this on the show before.
Are we not
Maybe
talking about
we
Yellow
have.
Man? Really?
Let's get
I
into Yellow
mean,
Man right now.
Ethics are fun.
I'm like having a glimmer of like maybe we talked about this really early on, and it is like blasted away, but not enough.
Yeah.
Because this is a
Yeah.
story
Go
unto
on.
its own.
So from what I remember, given the theory was 7 years ago, 6.5 years ago, Lynn, sorry if I'm getting this wrong. So Barry Tolkien had some tapes from the Yellowman tribe or Yellowman family of the Navajo tribe. And in these tapes included stories of coyote. And coyote tales could only be told at a certain period of the year, which I believe was winter, but I'm willing to be wrong on that because being wrong is a thing and it's okay. And I believe it was when Barry or Dr. Tolkien retired that he offered to give the tapes back to the Yellowman family. And that created a whole controversy, which, if I remember right, from the article we read, Alan Dundes disagreed with it because he thought that tapes that were recorded, which told the stories, belonged to the folklore community and not to the original people. So that really gets back to the idea of who owns the stories and what the purpose of the stories is. Which, if I understand right, Tolkien gave the stories back because there were certain ramifications of them being told at the wrong period of the year. And he didn't want to risk that if they fell into the hands of a folklorist who wasn't aware of that issue. But yeah, it really becomes a whole issue and debate of who owns the narrative and who has the right to tell a story, which is fascinating to me, both as a folklorist from the aspect of silence and from the aspect of mental illness, really.
Yeah. Chad is saying that this has been brought up a couple times, but never explained like you just did. It's always been like shorthand for that kind of ethical dilemma, but no one's actually broken it down until you just now, Jen. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope I got it right, because you know, the imposter syndrome.
No, I mean, I think that's the gist of it. And that it just got presented at AFS and at the American Folklore Society conference, and there was like a head-to-head between two academics over the nature of like ownership of collected material in the archive, basically.
Yeah.
I'm also now picturing, after you said imposter syndrome, of like Coyote and other trickster figures having imposter syndrome, and it's kind of a funny image. No, there is no chat. There is no command for exclamation point imposter syndrome. Come on. That is not a chat command.
Not yet, anyway.
I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say it kind of should be, maybe.
Can you make chat commands?
We can. Yeah.
Yes.
Someone put exclamation point imposter syndrome, and then someone immediately replied with Among Us. So maybe that's just the chat command. Okay, I'd actually let's ask another question. This is sort of about your fieldwork, Jen. It's kind of like a chicken and the egg question, but I think you are the right folklorist to break this down. And maybe there's not one right answer, but I at least want to hear your take. Okay, so did the anonymity provided on digital spaces facilitate people sharing their trauma on the internet, or did the stigma of sharing trauma facilitate a need for anonymity? Kind of a chicken and the egg.
Yes.
Yes for both?
Yeah, so first of all, going into my fieldwork, there was a degree of anonymity, but there was also a degree of people posting under their actual. I did most of my fieldwork on Facebook, and so people posting under their actual Facebook names. But they were posting in a group. So there's this weird gray area with online folklore, which for some people is very, very stressful. For some people, I'm going to say I found it very, very stressful because I knew I was dealing with a community that had issues, didn't always enjoy being made public. But the groups that I looked at, I was very, very, very careful to make sure they were public. In that I actually had two different Facebook profiles, one that was personal and one that was based in a group that I'm in where I have an alternate name. And I always double check the group to make sure that everything I was looking at was publicly posted. However, even though it's publicly posted, there's always the element of, do people realize what that means? You know?
Yeah.
When we talk about, so when we talk about digital folklore that is publicly posted, we usually use, well, what I've heard is the analogy of yelling it on a street corner, right?
Okay.
But if someone is physically yelling something on a street corner or talking about it in a public arena, they can see that it's public. Where if they're talking about it in a Facebook group or in a different forum, which may kind of have the connotation of being somewhat private or somewhat less public, they may not be aware of that. That being said, when I did my research, I was very, very careful to focus on just the visual media that was shared, and then kind of translate any comments. You know, I did my best to make sure that nothing I presented in my thesis was searchable in a personal type of way because of that. I did go through the whole IRB process and double check everything, but I still always had that in the back of my mind, which added an extra level of stress. I don't remember your question.
Well, the question was, which I think you've come at least very close to answering, was anonymity because of the things they were talking about, or the things they're talking about drive people to want to be anonymous?
Yeah, so one of the things that is afforded by digital folklore, specifically memes, is that people can post things to kind of test the waters. You know, it's like telling a joke that may or may not be off color. You don't necessarily have to identify with the joke to tell it, just like you don't necessarily have to identify with the meme to show it. And so sometimes it was people showing a meme to kind of be like, hey, this is something you should be aware of, type of a thing, based on what I could see by the public shares. And sometimes it was people saying, hey, this is something I identify with. So there was a level of anonymity kind of allowing people to share those things, and anonymity, or the stigma of it requiring a level of anonymity. You know, like, I don't want to say I have PTSD because then you're going to assume that I'm violent, rather than saying, hey, this is part of PTSD that is not violent. this is a thing you should be aware of.
So to circle back to your original answer, yes to both. I think that's right. You've convinced me. There's
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
kind of like
yes to both.
and the way you were describing, there's also like a level of performance in the sharing that can navigate
Mhm.
either way. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
One last serious question before we pop off into some fun stuff, if I can, and that is
Of course.
you once wrote, folklore is a tool because it deals with the seemingly inconsequential, the things that actually tie us together. And how would you say folklore is an access point for the seemingly inconsequential, and how does that help us reconnect?
How much time do I have? So the seemingly inconsequential, like,
I love that turn of phrase. Seemingly.
Yeah.
right. I mean, really, folklore allows us to delve the depths of humanity
Mm-hmm.
while seeming like we're waiting. Like
Yeah.
we can talk about some of the deepest subjects while we're playing some video game,
Yeah.
right?
That's the show.
Or
You did it.
there you go.
Oh yeah.
And so there's that aspect of it, but there's also the aspect, and I'm going to tie this back to Chrissy's statement that she made while she was presenting, because I absolutely love this metaphor.
Let's go.
Or idea, not metaphor, that folklore, or she was talking specifically about cooking, keeps our hands busy while we talk about things that matter. I don't remember how she phrased it, but that's
Yeah.
the
I remember
idea.
this.
Like, the idea that sometimes, like, we can have our deepest connections over, like, knitting or playing poker or whatever,
Doki Doki
where
Literature Club.
Doki Doki Literature Club, where we're doing something that seems so light and fluffy, but really it's just keeping our hands busy while our minds are exploring some of the deeper, scarier aspects of being human. It's giving us a way of connecting that is not so deep, so that when we do get to the deep stuff, we can still remember the humanity of each other. Like there are aspects of being human that we don't want to talk about, that if we're doing something like making dinner together, it's easy to talk, much easier to face the idea of talking about death, for example, than it would be otherwise.
You really did your homework. I think this is the first time someone cited a previous interview, and I love it.
That was really good.
Also, thank you for the gift subs too.
Death Loris.
I kind of loved that moment, and also, yeah.
I think the gift subs were
I
a
think it was a
reward for
special
that good
moment.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah, we just received a bunch of gift subs from Death Loris. Summoned
Hey,
with
Death
death.
Forest.
Yeah.
There you
Oh,
go.
look at this!
Look at that Death Cafe.
Oh yeah. Nice.
What do you think, Daisy? Fun questions?
I think we're ready for fun questions.
Jen, what is your shirt? Before I ask this next question, what does your shirt say?
It's relevant. Totally relevant. Not relevant.
If I look quiet, it's because you haven't seen me with my baritone saxophone. Okay, so this first fun question is, why does each saxophone suck except for Barry?
Because they're too fucking high.
I love it.
I don't know why.
Oh, I think that's the right answer.
That's the right answer.
and bass is low enough but too expensive, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Right. Although I have to say, I had the privilege of seeing Ravi Coltrane.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you haven't heard of Coltrane, the original Coltrane was John Coltrane, Ravi is his son. I had the privilege of seeing him last weekend. He played a sopranino in a way that me as a Barry player could appreciate.
That is
Just
cool.
saying.
Yeah.
Right?
Extremely high context.
I
love that.
also I think I now have like permission to share with you TikToks that I see, because you know people say like you end up on like a certain kind of TikTok. I've ended up on Giant Steps TikTok, where people play other songs in the key changes of Giant Steps, and it is the funniest thing. I just saw like
I look forward to seeing
yeah,
that.
the one I just saw was Vanessa Carlton, you know, I'd walk 1,000 miles, but with the key changes of Giant Steps. It made me laugh so hard. This next one is a fun hypothetical. If buildings could fight, who would win in a fight? Weber State's Stewart Bell Tower or Utah State's Old Main?
You could tell I wasn't at this meeting because I didn't teach Dom how to say the W word.
Whoa! For real, it's Weber?
It's Weaver.
Oh, I know that Dame Lillard went there, but I remember them playing in March Madness, but I guess I forgot how it was pronounced.
No, everyone says it. It's spelled that way.
Yeah.
But there's like a lot of Utah words like that.
I'm gonna say Weber State because USU has to have that cute little A in front of it.
True.
Weber State doesn't need that. They just have the bell tower.
I feel like Old Main's only or at least like half of its intimidation comes from the fact that it's on a big hill. Also,
well, also I've been told how to get up
it's
to
got the high ground.
Yeah,
yeah, I've been told how to get up to the A. I haven't been told how to get up into the bell tower of Weber State.
That's also good.
It keeps its secrets.
It keeps its secrets, yeah.
Hey, do you still have a sword within arm's reach? Oh my god.
Oh my god!
So dramatic. Okay.
Naturally, yes.
Be careful now!
So fucking cool.
Yes.
Do you always have a sword
I
within
do.
arm's reach?
Do I always? No. Do I often? Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, that's good distinction. I know you said a little bit to me and Daisy over break about the sword, but can you tell chat a little bit about your sword? The one sword you've got there.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
How far do we want to get into the idea of trauma recovery?
Oh my! This is so good. Holy
Do it.
shit! Oh my god!
So I've had a very interesting life.
To say the least.
Yeah, and part of my recovery was the fact that I decided that I wanted to learn how to sword fight in a certain medieval club.
Is it SCA?
Yeah, it's
Hell
SCA.
yeah.
A certain club.
And then at some point, I decided that I wanted to pursue the path of knighthood, which I haven't actually achieved for various reasons, not the least of which is the fact that I play Barry Sax, and the injuries that come from sword fighting are contradictory to that. Anyway, still navigating that hurdle. But after I joined the SCA and learned how to fight, and I wanted to squire, which is to become a student of a particular knight.
Yep.
Part of that for me and for my knight was taking an oath on my own sword. I have a squire brother who adores swords. He's really adorable when it comes to swords. I love him dearly. He means a lot to me. My Squire family actually means a lot to me. Because at the point when I was my weakest, they believed the most in me. And so this was a tax return. This is this is
very
actually
thematic stream.
God, I
Yeah.
love being an
My
adult.
money real good.
I love being an adult.
I've always been very low income, and so this was a tax return.
Mhm.
And my Squire brother was like, I had this really cheap, chintzy looking, $20 pawn shop Celtic sword. And my Squire brother, who absolutely adored swords, was like, yeah, you're not taking an oath to our knight on that.
Aw.
And so I got this, and this was not necessarily with it. He helped me pick it out. He did not determine my choice.
Cool.
So this is a 7th century migration era replica by Deltin. It's got lost wax cast fittings. It is kind of, the blade is not a mold. It is hand cast. There are some variations in the blade. And then my Squire brother did put an accurate 7th century migration era edge on it when it came, because he's that into swords.
It's very extra, and I love it.
Hell yeah.
He also made this for me.
Oh, that's cool.
And then my husband at the time and I made the scabbard.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
So that being said, this means a lot to me because this was people taking a chance on me and really committing to me at a point in time when I did not believe in myself, and saying that they believed in me and they believed that I could achieve really anything. They saw me as a warrior at a time when I saw myself as broken.
Oh.
That's like such a good story for the power of material culture.
And for like
for real, a community.
Yeah,
and
for
like
community.
Folklore.
Look at this arc, this like parallel arc you had in SCA. I love it. That's great.
Yeah, this is awesome.
That's so cool.
Well, and really, like, if we're talking about mental health and specifically trauma, like the idea that people don't recover from trauma on their own.
Yeah.
It is not a singular type of a thing. It is a community type of a thing. And really it was the community and even my Squire family, like, they were a catalyst, they were incentive, they believed in me, they helped me along the journey. But a lot of it was me and a therapist who is trained to handle trauma. And I cannot discount that enough. I had an amazing therapist for a decade and a half until I left Utah, really.
Yeah.
This is like
who helped me along the journey, and it was a lot of work for both of us.
Daisy,
you're just making me think, like, you have like the mentor guide who like has like life lessons that you're like learning from. You are the hero, and then you have like your community behind you of like people who are supporting you to achieve your dreams. This sounds like the plot of a really good movie.
I was gonna say, I'm so mythology pilled that you said you had your mentor guide, and I'm like, oh, like Telemachus and Mentor from the Odyssey, and then you have the whole house of
I mean, basically,
yeah, you have the whole house of Ithaca behind you. So
my
yes,
God.
Jen is Telemachus. Send tweet.
Yeah.
He's also a really great DM, so he could probably make something from that.
Hell yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like a. I mean, we had like an SEA question, but that went off in like a whole new way that I really appreciated, and thank you for sharing. That was really powerful, and chat loved it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. No problem. What's your SEA question? Because now I'm curious.
Oh, the SEA question we prepared was it was like SEA, where are they now? Sir Math Halfdane called the fish.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's in general like how much do you keep in touch with the old SEA, the Utah SEA people?
I mean, it's been a week or two since I talked to Fish.
Only
a week or two.
Only. I mean, yeah, they really, in a lot of ways, they're as close as my family.
Oh.
Well, let me rephrase that. They're as close as most people would consider their family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you talk to people outside the SCA about your night and stuff, and you're like, yeah, I have a night, and yeah, my night, this, that, and the other, there are connotations there that I don't quite get sometimes until they ask point blank. But Fish is really the type of person, like, he's been in my life for 14 or 15 years. God, I don't remember. But he really has been this weird combination of older brother father type figure.
Yeah.
Like I said, he took a chance on me. He believed in me at a point where I was falling apart. When I joined the SCA, when I started fighting, like, I would have panic attacks in armor. And Fish saw me at that level and still said, yeah, I think you can be a knight. I think you can excel at this, and I think you can be or I see you as a warrior. So yeah, he's someone that I still keep in touch with, and there are definitely areas of Philly that he absolutely has to see, knowing his interests in, like, food and nerdy stuff and awesome stuff and stuff like that. And then through Fish, I also have Squire brothers.
Yeah.
I have 3 of them. There's one in Henderson, Nevada. Him and his wife, where sometimes it's kind of a little iffy which one is actually my sibling, because they're both really awesome. And I have a lot in common with both of them.
Okay.
They're the ones who helped me move out to Philly. In fact,
That's cool.
Look at these squires.
Yeah, Fish. Right.
What is?
Yeah,
moving across the country.
They
what
helped
like
me
a
drive
great
across the
task
country
for a squire.
because
Yeah.
because that's awesome. And then there is a Squire brother that I have who is now in Moscow, Idaho, of all places. Which one day I will get him out to Philly, because he is my Irish Squire brother, and he's got to have some of that Guinness and stuff like that, because there's a lot of Irish out here.
Yeah.
And
Patty's Pub.
right. And also I'm the other Irish Squire, just so we're clear on that.
Hell yeah.
I have almost the complete set of the Brehon laws.
Which are?
Almost. Give me a few months, I'll have the full set. And then my third Squire brother, who is the sword enthusiast, is a Viking Squire who is now in Washington, in a tiny little town where, in his words, he can flip off Canada.
Nice.
Awesome.
And he is the other person who, at some points, I have been probably closer to than I have been to anybody, in a totally sibling type of a sense. Like, yeah. And really, their choice to be my family and their choice to believe in me at points where I didn't believe in myself has really been a catalyst for me becoming who I am today.
Hey, this is kind of a tangent, but Jen, have you met Tam? Folklorist who went to Oregon, right, Daisy? And is now in Estonia?
I don't know if Tam was in the program.
Tam's definitely in the program in Estonia now, though, right?
I think so. I don't think so.
Maybe not
Tam
in the folklore program, but had a
Matilda.
cultural type undergrad, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now is
in Estonia with Matilda.
in Estonia with Matilda. Are they married?
No. From what I don't know, I don't understand the nuances of their relationship.
They've been engaged. I think they've been. It's a rather long engagement.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and they live together in Estonia. I think he's taking classes in Estonia in folklore.
Yeah,
but he's an SEA Squire too.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yes, I've seen his bright red armor, and he sets a sword on fire sometimes.
It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. He told me he was going to cosplay Thoros of Mir, Daisy.
Oh my god. So cool.
Last question before, I know we had a pretty big chat question.
I have one. I have one chat question. Let's do a chat question and then this.
Yeah, because you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. So the chat question is from Deathlorist. Thank you, Deathlorist.
Thank you, Deathlorist.
What do you think about digital spaces allowing for people to engage with subjects that might be stigmatized more if they were to express these experiences in real life? Thinking about the relation to people figuring out how to break silences.
It's a very cumulative question.
So one of the issues of talking to people about things in real life that are otherwise stigmatized is dealing with the weight of the audience's emotions. So if you're dealing with a stigmatized subject, you already have the weight of your emotions, which you may or may not have dealt with to some degree. But the reason that you're stigmatized or in being stigmatized, or there are so many factors at play, means that there's a certain weight on the narrator, and the narrator may not always have the words, they may not have the ability to express it, they may not have the memories, they may not have the narrative coherency. There are so many factors at play that the audience may not know how to deal with it, because culturally we are not used to dealing with those subjects, or they are not expecting the narrative incoherence, or like there are things that they may feel like, oh my god, this is a heavy subject, which the narrator might think that this is normal. And so I think to some degree folklore allows, if we're looking at digital spaces, folklore allows the disconnection of emotion or a minimization of emotion, and a way to kind of test the waters and say, okay, is this audience going to be okay with this topic? How am I going to have to approach this if I approach it in real life? That type of a thing. Do they have any awareness of this topic? Yeah. I think that answers it. Does that answer it?
I think so. Well, you know what this last question is going to be, because it is like the best question to ask.
We're really coming full circle here.
Really coming full circle.
In a lot of ways.
Hey, where'd that dog go? Let us meet your pets. Let chat meet your pets. What the dog doing?
What the dog doing?
What the dog doing?
What the cat doing?
What the dog doing? Are dog and cat still on the couch? Or
Of
they
course,
got off?
he's hiding. Let me go get Enki.
Aw.
We're setting up something else for you while
Yeah.
we wait. This is so good.
What the dog
Honestly.
doing?
Very excited for part 2 of this. Dog time, dog time.
That Hype-Eyes dog. Oh, here comes the boy.
Oh, look at that little guy.
Oh.
What a cutie. Tell us about your dog. What you want the people to know.
So my dog's name is Enkidu.
Enkidu.
He's a mutt.
Yeah.
He's an adorable mutt.
Oh.
He's mostly good.
That's
Of
a good
course.
description of a dog. In my
Moving
opinion.
across the country at a year old is a little stressful,
Yeah.
so we're dealing with that.
Definitely.
We're dealing with the new normal, all of that. But he's mostly good. He's a good boy. He is my reason to get up in the morning because he needs to pee.
Yep.
Yes.
Because moving 2 time zones to the east, you
Yes.
need an incentive to get out of bed.
Oh my god.
I mean, I love my job, but also my dog needs to pee.
But also dog. Yeah.
Yeah. He's 14 months old.
Ginger puppy. What a cutie.
He's a puppy.
That cutie.
I also have a cat named. My cat's name is Miak, but I call him Mikey. Of course, being a folklorist, I named them both after legends.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Enki's named after the obvious Enkidu and Gilgamesh. Miak is Irish, of course. And he is named after the healer who one-upped his parental figure in making a actual flesh hand rather than a silver hand for the King Nuada.
That is so cool. I didn't know this.
I kind of like Irish folklore, Irish legends, and did I mention I have most of them somewhere in storage?
I also just
I'm like,
love
nerd alert.
One day when I have my books again.
Mm-hmm.
Jen, I just feel like the Drake meme where he's doing like the to like biblical, naming your pet a biblical name, and then doing like the point to like naming your pet a Sumerian mythic name.
I mean, the biblical names were my sister's pugs.
Oh, what were your sister's pugs?
Yeah.
So she had Goliath and Jezebel for about 14 years.
Goliath.
Oh my god, the perfect name for
so
pugs.
funny.
Goliath and Jezebel.
Yeah, actually, point of fact, Goliath and Jezebel passed away the weekend after my thesis was approved. She held off until my thesis was approved. They were 14.
Oh my god.
They were 14. She was.
Oh my gosh.
She was very, very gracious in holding off that long. And then she also has Nebuchadnezzar.
Jesus family.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Nebby's common name is Puppy. He probably doesn't even know that his actual name is Nebby. Or Prince Nebuchadnezzar.
Puppy.
That's awesome.
And he's like 6 or 7, I think. Yeah, Nebs.
Dude, I'm getting dogs now. I'm getting 2 cats and naming them Esau and Jacob now.
You should. Oh my
You
God.
should, yes.
Let's go.
Jen, you've seen the show before.
You've seen the show, Jen. You know what's happening. Daisy, do the honors.
Dude,
I have
y'all
one
are a
question for
touchstone in a
you.
world of weird.
I just have one question for
That's
you.
going on the website. That's a review on the website. Katrina's beautiful blurb she wrote for us, and then y'all are a touchstone in a world of weird.
I will put that on the website with your permission.
I mean, I just moved across the country, like, yeah.
There's a lot happening. Yeah, there's a lot of whirlwind, but our stream is stable.
Yep. Totally.
Oh my God. Jen, have you ever made a tier list before?
I have never made a tier list, and I am really curious as to what you guys have in store for me.
Well, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and click watch stream on the screen, and Dom will be able to tell you what each of the images are below, so if you can't see them super well.
I labeled them for myself, but I'll still read them.
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't see them.
Go. Yeah. It's cool. That's more for me. anyway. Jen, we know you love books.
Who know you love books a lot.
People who love books often have strong opinions on book organization. Let me tell you, making this tier list turned into a fight in chat because some of these just made us go, who would do that? Like 2 people go, who would do that? And the third person would go, But we have ways to organize a bookshelf, and we curated these from articles on the Spruce. Just suggestions from the Spruce that we turned into a tier list. And we're ready to go from S to D of ways to organize a bookshelf. Are you ready?
Yeah, my dog is saying I need emotional support.
I believe it. After some of these.
Maybe.
So the first one is alphabetically.
Maybe. So let's go with a B.
B. Okay, yeah, right in the middle. In the middle.
That's pretty standard for organization. Alphabetical.
Mm-hmm.
This next one. Big books on the bottom, small books on the top, going from small to large as you go down.
D.
D.
Oh! Fuck that shit.
Fuck that shit.
What the hell?
Don't look. Nobody look at my bookshelf. Nobody
Who
look
made
at my
that
bookshelf right
a
now.
Physics major?
Nobody go into my room and look at my bookshelf. That's all I'll say.
Oh my god.
No judgment, Dom.
Okay, good.
Whatever you think best.
This
Pick your house.
Yeah, Shirley in chat points out weight is something to consider, and I feel like if you have like a flimsy bookshelf, like I often do, yes,
or one that doesn't exist, like Dom sometimes does.
We'll get there.
Like even the Walmart ones have like a second shelf about the third shelf up.
Yeah.
That is okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, we might move that one.
No. You said you gave us a straight to D moment.
I'm just picturing all the big books on the bottom, and that's just stupid.
That's what I think.
That's just not the way I would do things.
Yes.
The next one, and I know you fuck with Diane Goldstein as a scholar, but I happen to know this is how she organizes her books.
Oh no.
By color.
Can't do it.
That was the strongest answer, like nonverbal answer I've ever seen on the show.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's almost an F.
Is that a D or is that an F?
F?
Yeah.
Yes! Edit the tier list! Let's go! I'm with you! Okay. Color coordinated is overrated! You can't
mean,
I'm with you.
There we go.
I didn't want to influence
There
you
we go,
before.
chat. Can I say one thing in defense
I know where
of...
they're hiding, but
Can I defend at least how Diane does things? How Diane Goldstein, author of the Stigmatized Vernacular, which I think you cite a lot, does things where you're in her office and she'll be like, "Can you hand me the teal book from the mid-'60s with the cloth jacket?" And you can just like look like, okay, blue, green, teal, kind of. Oh yeah, you're looking for whatever this Folklore's Nature and the Sunsmith. Who is that? Pennsylvania. Sociolinguistics. Del Himes. It was like a particular Del Himes book that she like has memorized by like how it looks. And also her Marlboro Golds are in with the yellow books, which I think is fucking genius. That's where she puts her cigarettes in any office she's in.
Oh, that's really funny. Okay, that is the only that's the only take. Okay.
yeah, maybe I can buy that.
but color.
Okay. This is the most bewildering one that we saw on the spruce, and that is putting your books in the fireplace.
What?
No. Fuck no.
Oh my god.
Fuck no. Below color.
Below color in its own tier, or at the bottom of F?
It's a fireplace light.
No. If you have a non-functional fireplace, if you have a fireplace that doesn't actually open up, like a sealed fireplace, and you put your books in the fireplace in the living room.
What do you know? My literal next door neighbors do this exact thing.
I didn't think you would make it this hard, Dom.
This is pretty special already.
Books don't belong in the fire.
Never, not even symbolically.
It's just the place.
Never.
It's just the place.
Never.
No
Even bad books you can learn something from.
It's the place of whence fire came.
Okay, let's start giving ones that'll maybe go towards the top, like higher on the list. The next is the old floating shelf.
That's kind of cool.
That could be fun.
My Gundam models are on a floating shelf. You'll see more if we make the office tour sub goal.
Let's go B.
B. Top of B, bottom of B.
What's the other one there?
Alphabetical.
Bottom.
The next is stacks on the floor.
Let's go A, because stacks on the floor usually have some significance to current research.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of Lamont Jack Purley's office when we had him on the stream. He had beautifully organized floor stacks.
Yeah.
Next up oh, sorry, go.
I just moved. Stacks on the floor are normal.
Yeah.
I get it. The next up is by genre.
So I'm having a hard time differentiating between by genre and by alphabetical, because ideally it would be by genre then by alphabetical within the genre, but let's go with by genre with A above stacks on the floor.
A above stacks on the floor. Cool. I guess I kind of do this too, but tend towards heavier ones on the bottom. Heavier genres on the bottom.
Yeah.
How about orienting them horizontally instead of vertically?
That's just confusing.
Wait, what?
I mean,
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna start doing this. It looks fun.
You put them vertically if they are on the shelves for a long period of time, but if you take them off and then put them back on and haven't really put them back into place yet, they're still vertical. So I guess it depends on how recently you use them.
That is a tough one.
It is a tough one. Where do you think?
Well, I guess if they're vertical, they're books you're using on a regular basis, or you're using more often. So let's put it on A in the middle.
A in the middle. Okay, cool. And the last one is kind of doing it single file, and that is the long bookshelf instead of the tall bookshelf. The long bookshelf that wraps around a corner.
Is that possible?
It's in the picture.
Long. You'd have to like.
You okay, Daisy?
You'd have to really spend time like. You'd have to be like from the beginning of your bookshelf wanting to put it that way and installing equipment to make it happen that way.
That's why I kind of like it.
I mean, if you have a really big shelf or a big house and a shelf through the whole house, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, I'm more of the Beauty and the Beast type of bookshelf type person. And there's no way in fucking hell that one single bookshelf would fit.
Around the whole enchanted castle.
Oh my God.
Right.
What if it's like long but like in a spiral?
But
like there's a
ooh.
descending. That'd be cool.
Ooh,
as
that
hell.
could be fun.
That
That
but
would be
even
really
if you're
cool.
describing like, okay, like the Beast's library, but on a long bookshelf, the whole castle's the library now. Think about it.
Yeah,
That's pretty pog.
If you have the entire castle being the library, I think that would be S tier. But if you only have a single layer around the entire house, that would be more C or D.
So where are we putting this?
C.
Would you say C?
Because it's totally
C.
unrealistic.
Totally unrealistic.
Yeah,
Now.
No, if you don't have 1,000 books, then
Sure.
Well, then whatever. But
Now, before we're done, any of these A's want to go up to S?
So alphabetical. If we're talking alphabetical, are we talking alphabetical by subject and then by author and then by subject?
see, this is where I'm questioning too, because like it seems like S tier to me would be like a mixed method.
But I
don't
I
know.
think deliberately we gave you no mixed methods.
Right, like
we left some truly terrifying shit out, like spines in.
What?
Yeah,
like
we
what?
spines in. That's fucking in. Oh. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh my god.
So, like
Oh my
at one point, I
God.
considered putting Library of Congress numbers on my books until I realized that that's kind of a faulty classification method, and then I gave up. But I may still do that. So I think that would be S tier, is some sort of classification method like that does by
Dewey
subject
Decimal.
and then by author.
I've heard that Dewey was like a race scientist,
No,
but I can't
not
prove that.
Dewey.
Oh, I don't know.
I think I heard anecdotally he was into race science.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, Library of Congress is marginally better.
Yeah, and
but
the
still
think about how the way like other cultures are like compressed to the Dewey Decimal System. You know what I mean? There's a precedent.
Yeah, now
there.
that I'm thinking,
Yeah.
now that I'm thinking about it, damn, classification though is a fuck.
right, right.
That's what I
with
learned. That's what I learned in comparative studies. Classification is a fuck.
Right? Yeah, that's part of why my books aren't fully classified, and I'm sure
what's that like?
Death Lords could probably help put in on this.
I have to make a meme.
Death Lords posted racism in the Dewey Decimal System in the chat.
Oh jeez. All right, I believe that.
Right?
I totally. Yeah. Now I'm thinking about it.
Right?
Anybody who has a brain that's like, how can I make things more structural? And like
arbitrarily structural.
arbitrarily structural, I'm like, that might be a red flag.
Right? So, like, how do we have classification that is not in some way imposing our cultural classification system on somebody else?
Put it in the
Yeah.
fireplace. That's how.
Fuck
you know
no.
We-
Like, seriously, I got into anthro and folklore because of the Holocaust because I couldn't understand how people could do that. We are not putting books in the fireplace.
no
Interesting.
metaphorical,
Yeah,
no
I've seen that. I've
symbolic,
seen
no
that.
accidental symbolism.
I've
none
seen
of
that
it.
documentary, Raiders of
No.
the Lost Ark, where they
No.
have the book burning scene. I watched it when I was 8. It always affected me. Whoa, our
No,
tab
like-
just crashed. But
Rip.
we reached
But
the end.
that's okay
Hey,
because we did it.
I think we did it. We did it. We proved it.
I have two
You
questions.
Don't destroy knowledge, Dom.
What? Yeah.
Knowledge. Even bad knowledge is good.
Do you remember? I think it's one of the first ads they did on Welcome to Night Vale. If you ever listen to Night Vale, where Cecil goes, "Audible, you cannot burn what you cannot touch."
I have a final question for Jen.
Do it.
How do you, like, in your ideal mind, organize your
There
bookshelf?
we
Or
go.
maybe you in the past organized your bookshelf.
So ideally, my books are organized by type and then by subject, and then by author. And so, like, unfortunately, in the move, I got rid of a lot of my novels, but I had like a couple of bookshelves of novels that were mostly science fiction, fantasy, segregated by author, and so alphabetized by author. And then I have like my Irish folklore, my Norse folklore history type stuff. And then like Latin America, South America type stuff, and then folklore, and then anthropology, and then various other stuff. Like I have some weird sciencey type books, and just random other history and other topics. I think I have a few math books even, type of things. Yeah, so that's kind of how.
I'm debating saving, like, should I, because I organize my books in a way, or at least like partially in a way, that this tier list did not address, and I'm wondering if I should save it for our sub-goal office tour.
I think you should.
Okay, because like I do it a little
kinda
differently than
thematic
that
now.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to see other ways of organizing it.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
said,
I can.
mostly,
Go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say I mostly go by I guess by discipline, then by topic, and then by author.
Wow, Shirley really coming in with the lukewarm take here. Best way to
I think
organize
that kinda
your
puts a
bookshelf
cap on the whole
is
thing.
the one that fits your
No, I
lifestyle.
think
Thanks,
it puts a cap on the
Shirley.
whole thing.
Did you read the same article that we did?
I have genre in my work office, and then small paperbacks to coffee table books from small to big in my house.
I mean,
Shirley,
the
I'm just
best
giving
way
you
to
shit.
organize it is a way that when you remember you need a book or you remember something in a book, you can reach it within 10 minutes.
Diane
Yep.
Goldstein.
Diane
Color works
Goldstein,
for her.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I won't go into detail, but should I reveal the way that I do it different than was on any of the lists?
No, save it. This will be a fun
let's
surprise.
make it
It'll be a big reveal.
Okay, keep it hidden.
Mhm,
It is a mixed method approach, but
Yeah.
half of the method is genre/subject, and I won't explain what the other half is until later.
Sure. Well,
color.
I think the only thing left is to ask for ladders for a successful
Yeah!
interview and a very, as we all saw, thought-provoking
yes.
tier list. Everybody, ladders for Jen. Jen, thank you so much for
Yes, please.
coming on the
Thank
show,
you. Wow.
for being a great guest and giving a great interview.
Really good.
Quilts have had a meaning on many levels. Making quilts helped me to get a sense of my own space, sense of finding my way, sense of really working my way out of the labyrinth.